Part 4, Video Game of Thrones, The Dread Wedding. The princesses sat in the cold dungeons for several days before a goblin servant came for them. Lynn became hopeful that they would be released, banished from the castle mayhap, banished from the kingdom altogether, forced to wander the desert lands for the rest of their days. She could live with that, but her hopes were dashed when the goblin congratulated them both on this, their glorious wedding day. 3 female servants, Midna of the Twilight Realm, Fee of Skyloft Castle, and a quiet, dark-skinned, silver-haired elf led them to the bathing fountain. "I'm quite capable of washing myself, thank you very much," Lynn said, yanking her elbow from the elfin woman's grasp. "This is a cleansing ceremony, a Garadonian purification ritual for brides on their wedding day," said Midna. "Yes," Fee chimed in, "and it is considered disrespectful to the groom for the brides to sully their hands. Be it bathing, eating, or even simply picking a flower, your hands must remain clean and unsullied. We are here to serve at your beck and call. You must wear gloves from this point forward until you've been lawfully wedded. Any impurity before then would result in an instant beheading of the soiled brides-to-be. 'Tis simply the Garadonian way." Zelda could not hold back any longer. "All right, my curiosity's gotten the best of me. Would it be considered impure to ask a question?" "No, milady. Please, you are free to ask anything of us. Anything." "Why am I being bathed in a wedding purification ritual? Why did the goblin guard from earlier congratulate us both on our wedding day?" Midna and Fee simply giggled as they dried the girls off and draped them in silver robes before walking them towards a partition to change their clothes for them. "What the hell is this?" Lynn demanded as she leapt furiously from behind the partition, donning a gorgeous green and silver wedding gown. Zelda walked cautiously from behind the partition to stand next to Lynn. She too donned a wedding gown, though slightly different in design and a color variation of pinks and golds, complete with a pair of white gloves for Zelda and black gloves for Lynn. "You don't seriously expect us to go through with this, do you?" Lynn shouted through gritted teeth at the 2 young servant girls. All the while the tall elfin maiden stood silently by, watching the princesses with a soul-searing gaze. Midna glanced at Fee, the meeting of their eyes creating a telepathic wavelength between them. "Knock 'em out?" Midna asked. "It is for the best. If they put up a struggle, they will become sullied and surely lose their heads." "Yes, I agree. They're too beautiful to die. Their features are almost godlike. It's all we can do to help ease them through the ceremony and get the rites read quickly. Once Gerudo Valley and Hyrule become one, these girls' lives will surely be wrought with suffering and despair. We must protect them as much as possible. We must keep them alive for as long as Ganon reigns, for if he hasn't the hostages to vent his hostilities and rage upon, surely we will suffer in their steads. Better these poor maidens to writhe in agony than the 3 of us, agreed?" "Agreed," Fee thought somberly. Without warning, Midna attacked the girls with her enchanted razor-sharp hair. This served as a well-executed distraction as Impa slammed the hilt of her broadsword into the back of their heads, knocking them out cold. When they awoke, they found themselves in the Temple of Time at the tail end of a grim wedding ceremony with a hideous Twilight Realm priest reading the final rites of the marital contract. "Do you, Lynn," said Lord Zant, reading from an ancient Garadonian scripture, "and do you, Zelda, take the gallant King Ganondorf to be your lawfully wedded husband, to honor, worship, and obey for so long as you shall live and preside over the conjoined kingdoms?" "The king! The king! Long live the king! The ring! The ring! 3 rings for our king!" The mutant servants sat in the chapel pews chanting a dark chorus. "Never!" Lynn spat. "I'd rather hang than worship a beast like you." "No, you're not a beast. You're lower than that. You're a pig!" Zelda shouted. Ganon's eyes flared with rage. The temple grew completely silent for a moment before the goblins and monsters began to run from their pews to hide from the wrath of Ganon's hideous transformation. His skin ripped apart as his bones creaked and cracked, forming new joints beneath rippling muscle spasms. He roared in agony until finally he raised his horned head, eyes glaring red, to stare at his accusers.
"Indeed, I am a beast. Indeed, I am a pig,"
he laughed. Then he reeled back to gallop towards Zelda, to trample her, to destroy that which had infuriated him so. What was one murdered princess to Hyrule if, for all intents and purposes, he could still have Lyn and force her to tell her loyal subjects that her father and sister had both died in a tragic accident? Zelda reflexively lifted her hands out in front of her to protect herself from Ganon's merciless onslaught. Lyn reached out in mid-run to protect her sister. She leapt out in front of Zelda, and with a whoosh, the world turned gray. The church bells stopped chiming, the mutants stopped trembling, and Zelda, hands still outstretched in an effort to brace herself from Ganon's attack, mouth agape in fear, eyes blinded by tears, became bereft of movement. End of Part 4.